There's nothing good about getting older. Nothing. Those brutal words from Sylvester Stallone hit harder than any Rocky punch. At 78, the action legend is finally opening up about the toll his career has taken. A neck held together by metal, a fortune lost in failed ventures, and the heartbreaking death that still haunts him. From losing movie roles to losing millions on his mansion. This is the untold story of a hero's hardest fight. Sylvester Stallone was born on July 6, 1946, in Hell's Kitchen, New York City, during a heat wave. His birth wasn't easy. The doctor used forceps to deliver him, but something went wrong. The tool damaged a nerve in his face, leaving the left side of his mouth, tongue, and chin paralyzed. This is why Stallone talks with a slur and has his famous crooked smile. The hospital where he was born was overcrowded and boiling hot, with no air conditioning. It was almost as if his challenging birth predicted the difficult life he was about to face. Stallone's childhood was full of struggles. Kids made fun of the way he talked and called him mean names like Sylvia. This made him angry and frustrated, and he got into a lot of trouble. By the time he was 12, he had been kicked out of 13 schools and broken 11 bones from fights and risky behavior. At home, life wasn't any better. His father, Frank Stallone Sr., had a bad temper and wasn't afraid to use violence. When Sylvester was 6, he hit his dad's car with a lead pipe while swatting flies, and his father gave him a severe beating. His mother, Jackie, was an astrologer and a trapeze artist, but she and Frank fought all the time. They divorced when Stallone was 11. Things got even worse when he was little. Between the ages of 2 and 5, Stallone was sent to live in foster care because his parents couldn't afford to take care of him. He only saw them on weekends, and this made him feel lonely and unwanted. Stallone later said that he felt like Mr. Potato Head with all the parts in the wrong place. Despite all this, Stallone found something that lit a spark in him. When he was 13, he watched a movie called Hercules Unchained, starring Steve Reeves. Seeing the powerful hero on screen gave him hope and a dream to follow. When Stallone was 14, he moved to Philadelphia to live with his mom and her new husband. Philadelphia became an important part of Stallone's life. The city's tough streets and working-class people inspired him later when he created the character Rocky Balboa. School didn't get any easier for Stallone, though. At one school, teachers voted him most likely to end up in the electric chair. But these setbacks didn't stop him. In the early 1970s, Sylvester Stallone's life was full of struggle and heartbreak. He was trying to make it as an actor in New York City, but he had no money and nowhere to go. Between 1969 and 1974, there were times when he was homeless. He often slept in the Port Authority bus terminal, trying to stay warm during cold nights. One winter in 1971, things got so bad that he spent 3 weeks living on the streets, huddling in alleys and on park benches. In 1975, Stallone took on any job he could find, no matter how strange or tough. In 1970, he cleaned lion cages at the Central Park Zoo, earning just $1.12 an hour. It was dangerous work, and one day, a lioness named Sheba swiped at him, leaving a deep cut on his arm. Later, he worked as a theater usher, but was fired after 2 weeks for scalping tickets to the Godfather premiere. He made an extra $100, but lost his job. Desperate for money, Stallone even acted in a low-budget adult film called The Party at Kitty and Studs in 1972. He got paid $200 for it, but it was something he regretted deeply. One of the strangest jobs Stallone ever took was being a human statue outside Macy's. He stood still for hours, painted completely in silver, and earned $50 a day. But the paint caused a bad rash, making the job even harder. All these difficult experiences only made Stallone more determined to succeed, and later they inspired the story he would write for Rocky. The hardest moment of Stallone's life came in 1971, when he had to sell his dog, Butkus. Butkus was a bull mastiff Stallone had bought in 1969 with his last $40. The dog was his best friend, and they went through everything together, sharing food and living in a tiny rundown apartment. But Stallone was broke, hadn't eaten in days, and was about to be kicked out of his home. He had no choice but to sell Butkus for $50 to a stranger outside a liquor store. Stallone cried as he walked away, feeling like he'd lost the only thing he had left. A few weeks later, Stallone saw Butkus with his new owner near Central Park. The dog recognized him and tried to run to him, but the man pulled Butkus back. This heartbreaking moment pushed Stallone to work even harder. When he sold the Rocky script in 1975, the first thing he did was track down the man who had Butkus. At first, the owner didn't want to sell him back, knowing Stallone was now successful. After a lot of negotiating, Stallone paid $15,000 to get his beloved dog back. Butkus even appeared in the first two Rocky films, becoming part of Stallone's success story. Stallone's path to stardom wasn't just about odd jobs or selling his dog. It was also about facing rejection over and over again. Between 1969 and 1975, he was rejected by agents and studios 1,537 times. He kept track of every single rejection in notebooks. Many told him he wasn't good-looking enough, didn't have the right voice, or just wasn't talented. One agent even told him, "Your face could make a train take a dirt road." Despite all this, Stallone never gave up. He kept showing up at agencies, sometimes sleeping in their hallways just to be first in line. One time, he even stayed for 18 hours, refusing to leave until someone saw him. It didn't work, and security had to kick him out. His final rejection came just days before he sold Rocky. The studio told him they didn't see any potential in him as an actor or writer. Stallone later framed that rejection letter as a reminder of how far he had come. The turning point in Stallone's life came in 1975. He watched a boxing match between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner and felt inspired by Wepner's courage as an underdog. That same night, Stallone went home and started writing the script for Rocky. He wrote for 20 hours straight without stopping, sitting in his freezing apartment with an old typewriter. By the next evening, he had a rough version of the story: an underdog boxer, a quiet love story, and a shot at the championship. After finishing, Stallone was so exhausted that he slept for 16 hours. Over the next 3 days, he polished the script and handed it to his agents. They were shocked at how good it was. When he tried to sell the script in Hollywood, everyone rejected it at first. Then, two producers, Irwin Winkler and Robert Chardoff, said they wanted to buy it. They even offered him $350,000, which was a huge amount of money, especially for someone as desperate as Stallone. But they didn't want him to play Rocky. They wanted a famous actor like Robert Redford or Burt Reynolds instead. Stallone said no. He insisted that he had to play the role, even though he was starving and had no money. They raised the offer to $360,000, but Stallone still refused. He later said, "I couldn't live with myself if I watched someone else play Rocky." The producers finally agreed to let him star, but with conditions. The movie's budget would be cut to just $1 million. Stallone would only be paid $35,000, and they had to finish filming in 28 days. It wasn't much, but Stallone didn't care. He had the chance to play the role he believed in so deeply. When Rocky came out on November 21st, 1976, nobody expected it to be such a hit. On the first day, it earned $5,488 at the box office. That was just the start. Even though the movie cost only $1.1 million to make, it ended up earning $225 million worldwide. An incredible success. But the money wasn't the only thing that made Rocky special. On February 28, 1977, it got 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Actor for Stallone, and Best Screenplay. Stallone became only the third person in history to be nominated for acting and writing in the same year. At the Oscars on March 28, 1977, exactly 2 years after Stallone wrote the script, Rocky won 3 awards. It took home Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Editing. During the ceremony, Muhammad Ali surprised everyone by joining Stallone on stage. They joked and pretended to box, making the night even more unforgettable. The movie didn't just win awards, it became a symbol of hope and determination. The music from the film, Gonna Fly Now, became a hit and reached #1 on the Billboard charts. The steps Stallone ran up in Philadelphia became so famous they're now called the Rocky Steps. In 1982, a statue of Rocky was put there, and it's still a huge tourist attraction today. Stallone didn't stop there. He made more movies about Rocky. These included Rocky II, Rocky III, Rocky IV, Rocky V, and later Creed and Creed II. At the same time, Stallone created another famous character, John Rambo, who first appeared in First Blood. While Rocky showed the power of hope and hard work, Rambo was about survival and dealing with deep pain. Both characters became legends, showing different sides of Stallone's talent. In the 1980s, Stallone kept switching between Rocky and Rambo. Rocky III had an exciting story about friendship and redemption, with Mr. T as the fierce Clubberlang. It earned $125 million and kept the Rocky story alive. Around the same time, Rambo First Blood, Part 2 brought Stallone back as Rambo, now on a dangerous mission in Vietnam. The action was explosive, and the movie made over $300 million worldwide, proving Stallone could handle big, thrilling stories. Years later, Stallone surprised everyone by bringing Rocky back in Rocky Balboa, 2006. After the failure of Rocky V, no one thought another Rocky movie could work. But Stallone, now 60 years old, gave an emotional performance that people loved. The movie made $155.7 million, proving Rocky's story wasn't over. Then, in 2015, Stallone passed the spotlight to Michael B. Jordan in Creed. Jordan played Adonis Creed, the son of Rocky's old rival. Stallone played an older Rocky mentoring the young fighter. This role won Stallone his first Golden Globe and another Oscar nomination after nearly 40 years. Creed and Creed 3 were both big hits, with Creed 2 earning $214 million. Although Stallone retired from playing Rocky after Creed, they were assumed. The story continued with Creed 3 in 2023, showing Stallone's ability to let his creations grow. Stallone didn't stop with Rocky and Rambo. In 2010, he started The Expendables, a movie that brought together action stars from the 80s and 90s. The first movie had big names like Jason Statham, Jet Li, Bruce Willis, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was a hit, making $274 million. The sequels added more stars, like Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme. While The Expendables 2 made the most money at $315 million, the third movie faced problems like piracy, but still earned $214 million. The series made over $800 million in total and gave older action stars a chance to shine again. Stallone also showed he could do more than action. In Copland 1997, he played a quiet, overweight sheriff dealing with police corruption. To prepare, he gained 40 pounds, which shocked fans who were used to his muscular look. Critics loved his performance, calling it powerful and emotional. While the movie didn't make as much money as his action hits, it showed Stallone's ability to take risks and play different kinds of roles. In 2022, Stallone tried something new again with a TV series called Tulsa King. He played a mafia boss sent to Tulsa, Oklahoma after 25 years in prison. The show became a hit right away, with millions of people watching the first episode. Stallone's mix of toughness and humor made the show popular, and it was quickly renewed for another season. Meanwhile, Sylvester Stallone's love life has been full of ups and downs, almost as dramatic as his movies. One of his most famous relationships was with Danish actress Brigitte Nielsen. Their story started in a way that felt straight out of a Hollywood script. In 1985, Nielsen, who was just 21 at the time, slid her photo under Stallone's hotel room door along with a note saying, "My name is Brigitte Nielsen. I'd really like to meet you. Here's my number." Stallone, who was 39, was intrigued. And this bold move led to a fast-paced romance. Both ended their previous marriages to be together, and in just a few months they were married. Their wedding took place on December 15th, 1985, at the home of Rocky producer Irwin Winkler in Beverly Hills, but their marriage didn't last. Just 19 months later, in July 1987, Stallone filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Their breakup was especially hard for Nielsen. She later said she was blacklisted in Hollywood after the divorce, and she had to move back to Europe to rebuild her career. Stallone didn't give up on love. In 1997, he married Jennifer Flavin. Their marriage seemed solid, but in August 2022, after 25 years together, Flavin filed for divorce, accusing Stallone of mishandling their shared finances. Surprisingly, within a month, they reconciled. Stallone described this moment as a reawakening, showing that even after challenges, their bond remained strong. Stallone's journey as a father has brought him both happiness and heartbreak. His eldest son, Sage Moonblood Stallone, was born on May 5, 1976. Sage followed his father into the film industry and even acted alongside him as Rocky Balboa Jr. in Rocky V when he was just 14. Their on-screen relationship reflected some of the struggles and closeness they had in real life. But tragedy struck on July 13, 2012. Sage was found dead at his home in Los Angeles at the age of 36. The news shocked everyone. and rumors of a drug overdose spread quickly. However, the coroner later confirmed that Sage had died from coronary artery disease caused by atherosclerosis, which led to a heart attack. This unexpected loss devastated Stallone. He made a heartfelt plea to the public. They asked for privacy and respect and said that losing a child is the worst pain a parent can go through. We will always be sad about this loss. In his personal life, Stallone also had problems with drugs and his health. During the 1980s, when he was at the height of his fame, he had a lot of problems with HGH and drugs. He said that he used these drugs to get in shape for the Rambo movies. But this was very bad for your health. Was caught trying to bring 48 samples of HGH into Australia in 2007. He admitted guilt and paid a $10,000 fine. He had to face the risks of performance-enhancing drugs after this public event. Since then, Stallone has spoken out to warn others about the damage they can do in the long run. Carl Weathers died at the age of 76 on February 1st, 2024, which was a terrible loss for Sylvester Stallone. In the Rocky movies, Carl played Apollo Creed and was famous for it. He had been Stallone's close friend and co-star for almost 50 years. He was very upset by the news. He paid emotional respect to Rocky by posting a picture of himself in front of a painting of Rocky and Apollo in the ring on Instagram. He said, "Today is a very sad day for me," with a sad tone in his voice. "I'm so upset. I have no idea." He talked about how Carl was a big part of his life and success, and how important he was to everything they did with the Rocky series. He told Carl that he couldn't have done all of that without his skill, strength, and kindness. It was even worse that they lost because it was only a few weeks before the 48th anniversary of the first Rocky movie. Carl had been in the first 4 movies, and Bruno's death in Rocky IV was one of the saddest parts of the series. Carl was still a big part of the Creed spin-offs, where Michael B. Jordan played Apollo's son, even after his character died. At the end of his tribute, Stallone said, "Apollo, keep punching." This showed how much he valued Carl's friendship and impact on him. Later in October 2024, Stallone had to deal with yet another huge setback. Fans were shocked when he said he wouldn't be in Cliffhanger 2, the follow-up to his hit action movie from 1993. Stallone was looking forward to playing Gabe Walker again, but the project went in a different way. He was taken out and Pierce Brosnan took over the lead part. He was 78 years old at the time, and he was going to play Gabe in a story about his daughter. But the plot was totally changed in the new movie with Brosnan as Ray Cooper. Now, the movie was about Cooper, a skilled climber, and his daughter Naomi, played by Lily James, as they went into danger in the Dolomites in Italy. A lot of people were shocked by this news, especially since Stallone had just come back to acting after a long break with Rocky and the Creed movies, Rambo, and The Expendable. Fans wondered why he was replaced, and some thought it might have been because of creative differences or worries about his age and being able to get insurance for action parts. Even for stars like Stallone, this rapid change showed how hard Hollywood can be. When making big action movies, studios often look for younger stars or safer leads. Also in September 2024, Stallone had to deal with a loss of money. He put up for sale his fancy house in La Quinta for $3.35 million, which was $1.15 million less than the $4.5 million he paid for it the year before. The house was in the posh Madison Club neighborhood, which was home to celebrities like Kris Jenner and Cindy Crawford. The building was 2 stories tall, had a pool with a spa, and even a wine room. Even with all of these good points, Stallone had a hard time selling it for years. He put it on the market for $4.5 million the first time, and then again for $4.2 million, but no one came forward to buy it. He was willing to lose money when he cut the price in 2024. This could have been to simplify his life or move his investments as he got closer to 80. A Netflix documentary called Sly, which came out in November 2023, gave Stallone's fans a better look into his personal life. When he talked about his late son, it was one of the most moving parts of the movie. Sage, who died of coronary heart disease at age 36 in 2012. Sage played Rocky's son in Rocky V, a movie about how Rocky's family and him didn't get along. Stallone said that the story was based on his own feelings of regret about putting his job ahead of his family. He said, "I try to do something I wish I had done in real life in a fun, magical way. But sadly, the effects in real life are very different. Awful and terrible." Sage's point of view was also in the video. Sage told in an interview in 1996 that he was being honest when he fought with Rocky in the movie about not being there for his family. Sage said, "I really did say that while looking into my dad's face. Scenes from the Rocky V launch were shown. Stallone was standing with Sage and told him, "I'm so glad he's born because now I can live through his eyes." These thoughts showed that Stallone felt terrible about his choices and that he had spent years trying to understand how they affected him emotionally. A lot of hard work has gone into making Sylvester Stallone's movies, but it has hurt his body a lot. During the opening of the second season of The Family Stallone, he talked about how badly his body has been hurt. He talked about the hurt he got while making the 2009 movie The Expendables. He told them that he had already had 6 surgeries because of the injuries and was getting ready for his 7th. During a fight scene with WWE star Steve Austin, she got hurt the worst. At the time, Stallone was 62 years old and broke his neck and threw out both shoulders. Because of this, he needed surgery to put a metal plate in his neck and fuse his spinal cord. Stallone said that his body never really got better after all of this. He said that the body was never the same after seeing that movie. For his 7th surgery on his back, Stallone let cameras record the whole thing for his family. The surgery took place at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles on March 7, 2024. It took more than 7 hours and included taking out scar tissue and putting in a new spine implant. People were shocked that Stallone stayed awake for some of the surgery. He even laughed with the doctors as they worked on his back. Over 11.2 million people watched this episode, which set a new high. Even with all of these health issues, Stallone has been incredibly determined. It took him 6 months of hard rehab on June 1, 2023, to get ready for his part in Cliffhanger 2. The plan was made by exercise expert and former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink. Stallone worked on getting stronger, more flexible, and doing special routines to support his back. He had gained back 80% of his strength and flexibility by December 2023. Dr. S were shocked by his growth and said it was nothing short of miraculous for someone his age. A lot of people are upset about what Sylvester Stallone said about getting older in Hollywood. The 15th of September, 2023, he told GQ, "There's nothing good about getting older. There is nothing at all. You don't get smarter, better, kinder, or more aware." A lot of people in the business were shocked by how honest he was, which led to talks about ageism in the entertainment business. Before he became a movie star, Sylvester Stallone loved art. In the early 1970s, before Rocky made him popular, he began painting. He studied art at the University of Miami, but he had to drop out because he couldn't afford it. Stallone never stopped painting after that. He used it as a way to unwind and be himself when he wasn't making movies. His works are very colorful and have big shapes. His favorite things to paint are self-portraits, characters from his movies, and vague thoughts about failure and success. One interesting story is that Stallone painted Rocky before he wrote the script for the movie. He cut the picture out of the canvas with a tool. He got the idea for the whole Rocky series from a picture called Finding Rocky. Everyone was shocked when Stallone held an art show in Russia in 2013. From 1975 to now, it was known as the Sylvester Stallone painting. It had 36 of his works from more than 40 years ago. A lot of people were impressed by how deep and important his work was. Over 1,000 people came to see it on the first day. He held another big show in France after 2 years, which showed that he was serious about his work. Stallone did more than just paint. He also brought things to life. The huge Rocky Balboa figure in Philadelphia is one of his most well-known works. It's 2,000 pounds and 12 feet tall. Stan Lee paid $412,000 to have it made in 2006. These days, it stands next to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Fans came back every year to repeat the famous scene with Rocky on the steps of the museum. Sly tried his hand at business too. In 1991, he helped open Planet Hollywood, a restaurant with a movie theme. He worked on everything from the design to the menus. He even gave the restaurant's movie props to put on show. And it was worth more than $1 billion at its peak. There were more than 100 sites around the world. The business grew too quickly, though, and failed in 1999. Stallone lost a lot of money. Some say it's around $10 to $15 million. He stayed committed and helped the business get back on its feet even after that. He also began other businesses. He started a clothes line called Sly Inc. in 1997. It was based on the characters in his movies, but it didn't last long. He helped start a business that made health supplements in 2005. He was known for being fit, so this seemed like a good fit, and he helped make the product. People were again surprised when Stallone came out with a high-end fountain pen line in 2011 called Chaos. Each pen cost $5,000, so they were very fancy and pricey. They were made with unique patterns, like a tiny skull and knife. which showed that Stallone loved creative details. Stallone is famous for how hard he works on movies. He always goes the extra mile, no matter how tough it gets. He went on a very strict diet and worked out a lot for Rocky III, 1982. It is very risky for him to have only 2.8% body fat. He was so weak that he would get dizzy on set and had to be helped in between takes. Stallone did his own dangerous acts for the 1982 movie First Blood. He jumped 36 feet off a cliff and into a tree. He went to shoot even though he broke a rib. He even spent 3 days in the woods eating plants and small animals to learn how Rambo would survive. There was a crazy thing that happened in Rocky IV, 1985. Sylvester Stallone wanted the fight scenes to look real, so he told Dolph Lundgren to really punch him. They hit Stallone so hard that his heart swelled up, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. They said it felt like being hit by a car. Stallone is just as serious when he writes and directs movies. He changed a lot of scenes in Rocky Balboa, 2006, right up until the last minute. The group sometimes got new scripts right before they shot. It took 18 days to film the last fight scene, and Stallone, who was 60 at the time, worked out hard to make it seem real. Stallone said in an interview that he can be too hard on himself when he tries to be perfect. He walked down the street over 40 times to get the feel of a simple scene right. It took him all day to film. His attention to detail has both praised and criticized him, but it's a big part of the reason why his movies have been so famous for over 50 years.